For most of my life, I believed that the menstrual cycle is all about a monthly bleed and its sole purpose is reproduction. And it wasn't until I was 20s that I learned that the cycle influences everything from our energy, metabolism, how we feel, how we perceive our body, to our sex drive, appetite, and cravings. When I understood that I'm not the same person every single day and my needs change throughout the month, life got so much easier. I stopped feeling like there was something wrong with me when I had low energy days, when I was craving certain foods, or when I just didn't feel like socializing. The sad reality is that we are pushed to live in a male-oriented society that just leaves us sick, broke, and burnt out. We're expected to show up the same every single day, like machines with the same energy and productivity, where in fact our bodies cycle through different hormones throughout the month. Today I'm breaking down the science of the menstrual cycle and hormones and what I wish I knew from the moment that I got my first period. Your menstrual cycle is not just your period. It's 4 distinct phases that has its own hormonal profiles, energy levels, and characteristics. I'm going to use a 28-day cycle as an example to demonstrate what is happening in our body throughout the month. But please know that it's very rare that your period is going to come bang on every 28 days. And if it doesn't mean that there is necessarily something wrong with you. The golden rule of thumb is that a normal cycle should last between 25 and 35 days. That means that your period should arrive every 25 up to 35 days. If it's any shorter than this or any longer than this, it might indicate that there is something else going on in your body and it's worth investigating further. But say for example that you've always gotten your period every 25 days and then suddenly you start getting your period every 35 days, or it's very unpredictable. One month it's every 25 days, another month is 30 days, next month is 35, then that is a red flag. Now, let's go back to our 28-day example. Day 1 of your bleed is also day 1 of your cycle. This is called menstruation. In this phase, all of your hormones, estrogen and progesterone mainly, are at their lowest. The drop in those hormones cause the uterine lining to shed. Energy-wise, you might feel more introverted and reflective. You may want to spend more time alone, be all cozy, and rest more than usual. Here you may also experience cramps, and this is due to prostaglandins. So these are the things that make your uterus contract. Those contractions can also throw your appetite off, and foods that you normally enjoy may no longer seem appealing. On average, your period should last between 5 and 7 days. As your period ends, so the day 7 to roughly day 14, we move into the second phase called the follicular phase. This is where things begin to shift. Estrogen, so you can think of estrogen as Beyonce energy. This is your bubbly, hyperactive best friend. From day 7, estrogen is rising, and with estrogen, or neurotransmitter, serotonin also increases. Higher serotonin means better mood and also increased energy. In this phase, we have more desire to be out and about, to be social, we're feeling more confident, we have higher motivations to hit the gym. Our blood sugar is also more stable and we experience fewer cravings. Here, in general, you might find yourself having a better ability to stick to a healthy diet. Now we are getting to the middle of your cycle, and this is called ovulation. Your estrogen is peaking, but so is your testosterone. And there is a misconception that testosterone is only associated with men, but that is not true. Testosterone gives us energy, it is responsible for our metabolism, and it also is responsible for our confidence and sex drive. So now we are at this place around day 14 to day 17 where we are feeling in the best mood, the most confident, most energetic, and we want to be social, we want to achieve things, we want to push for personal best when it comes to our training. And evolutionary, this makes total sense. This is our prime fertile window. Your brain does everything in order to make you feel the most outgoing and confident to increase the chances of reproduction. After ovulation, we enter our last phase of the menstrual cycle called the luteal phase. This is between day 17 and 28. At the start of the luteal phase, you still might feel some effects of ovulation because estrogen is lingering. You may feel more focused, detail-oriented, and productive in a task completion way. But towards the end of your cycle, so leading up to your period, in around day 21 to day 28, this is where your progesterone peaks and also drops. And that drop in hormone causes PMS, premenstrual syndrome. There are over 200 symptoms that women report experiencing in that week to 10 days before their period, including bloating, irritability, sadness, and cravings. That's because your energy dips, you feel more emotional and irritable, your hunger and appetite increases, and you may feel bloated and uncomfortable in your body. It is so easy to think that you're being dramatic or irrational, but your brain chemistry is literally changing. Estrogen is dropping, that means serotonin is low, and that impacts your mood. Progesterone is high, and that affects your GABA receptors, which influence your anxiety levels. You might be thinking, okay, interesting, but what do I do with this information? Well, the first thing is that you can stop fighting against your body. For years, I tried to be the same person every single day with the same energy levels, same productivity, same social output, and same workout intensity. And I felt like I was constantly failing. Some weeks I felt motivated and focused. Other weeks, I couldn't concentrate and focus to save my life. When I understood my cycle, I realized that I was trying to live in accordance with a 24-hour clock, like men do, where in fact my body operates on a 28-day cycle. Men's hormones reset every single day. They have a surge in testosterone early in the morning, which dips then later in the day, and that repeats every single day. That means that they can show up with the same energy throughout the whole month. On the other hand, women's hormones change throughout the month. We are not designed to perform the same way every day, and when we try to do so, we burn out. When you know your cycle, you can plan your life around it. When I started to track my cycles alongside my mood changes, energy changes, and other symptoms, I was able to adjust things and lean into my strengths when I could, and also give myself grace and compassion when I was feeling low. I learned how to adjust my workouts accordingly, and not in some cycle syncing fancy way that you see on social media where you completely flip your exercise routine every single week according to the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. I don't really believe in that. I think it's overwhelming. I don't think there is a need to completely flip your routine upside down every single week, because that just impairs consistency. But there's a difference between showing up the same way and trying to push through even though your biology is shifting, and being able to auto-regulate. What I mean by auto-regulation is learning when to push and when to pull back. So in the first phase of my cycle, when estrogen is dominating and when my energy, motivation, drive is the highest, I lean into that. I go and push myself. I challenge myself. I utilize this energy. However, when my energy, mood, pain perception are all shifting in the second half phase of the cycle, especially those couple of days leading up to my period, this is where I learned to pull back. And it has taken me so long to give myself the grace to be able to change up my routine in that way, and realize that it's okay to have days where you're pushing and other days when you're taking it slowly. And I know this is going against what you see on social media a lot of the times, where no pain, no gain, motivational quotes are thrown around everywhere, but that just simply doesn't work for women. And I noticed a massive difference in my strength, my muscle gains, my recovery, when I stopped trying to push for the same intensity throughout the whole month. And that didn't entail me changing anything about my workout routine. I still had the same training program when it came to the gym, but I just decreased the weight, lowered the intensity, allowed myself extra rest when I needed to. Now I train more of a hybrid way. I do some strength training, I do some running, I do some yoga, and I might be able to fit all of them in the follicular phase, but then when it comes to the luteal phase, I might ease off on the running and do a little bit more yoga. And that's how I approach and adjust my training. But having this information meant that I was also able to adjust my nutrition. So during the luteal phase, the body temperature increases. We're burning on average 7 to 11% extra calories a day. That equates to roughly 150 to 250 calories per day. We need more fuel. When I didn't understand that, I used to force the same restriction throughout the whole month, blaming myself on why I'm feeling hungry, then not being able to control that hunger and cravings, that leading then to binge eating episodes, which down the line then just led to a bad relationship with food. But I'm also able to adjust for nutritional needs. For example, during my period, when I'm bleeding, I'm losing a lot of iron, so I make sure to up my iron intake by including more of red meats and spinach. that are both high in iron. I also started to honor my capacity. I used to show up the same every single day, saying yes to all new opportunities, projects, social events. Now I recognize when I'm being more social, and this is exactly what I need, but also when I'm feeling more introspective, reflective, and needing alone time. And I learned to say no in order to not burn myself out. I stopped taking so much onto my plate when I was already overstressed. But realizing when that capacity is lower due to hormones shifting, hormones ebb and flowing, meant that I was able to plan for this accordingly rather than committing to something and then regretting it because I was on the verge of burning out. And all of this life planning around your cycle isn't making excuses or being less productive. It's about working with your body and not against it. And long term, it's actually making you more productive because you're not constantly depleting yourself. Understanding your cycle also helps you identify when something is off. If you track your cycle and the symptoms, then you're able to identify patterns. For example, that you're feeling more anxious leading up to your period, or that you are craving specific foods. And when you notice those patterns and you see them across a number of months, that's normal. That's your hormones doing what they're supposed to do. But if you feel terrible at every phase of your cycle, that's not normal. It's an indicator that something is off. Maybe your hormones are imbalanced, maybe you're dealing with conditions that have been undiagnosed, such as PCOS or endometriosis, or maybe you're on the verge of burning out or simply not fueling your body properly. Your cycle is such a vital sign, like your fifth vital sign, alongside your heart rate and your blood pressure. And when you recognize what's normal for you, because that's going to look so different for everyone, then you can also identify when something is off. Okay, let me bring you back to something that I mentioned at the start. We live in a male-oriented society that was designed for people with a 24-hour clock. The work week is the same every single week. You're expected to show up the same way every day, from Monday through to Friday. There is no acknowledgement that your needs may differ throughout the month. And when we can't keep up with that pace all the time, for example, if you need to take a day off during your period or when you're feeling less social during your luteal phase, we're told that we're not working hard enough, that we're just making excuses, it's all in your head, and just to push through. But the problem is that pushing through leads to so many health problems: hormonal imbalances, thyroid dysfunctions, adrenal fatigue. I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it with so many women that I work with. And the answer isn't to try and fit into a box and become more like men. It's to actually honor our biology and work with our hormonal rhythms. And I'm not saying that you have to quit your job or overhaul your complete routine, but the first step would be to start understanding that your cycle is so much more than just a period, a monthly bleed, and about making babies, and know that there's so many biological and physiological processes that are going on, and there are definitely ways to support it. But the first thing is having that understanding that makes you feel more empowered and also allows you to identify the patterns that are going on in your body, so that you can then make changes with your diet, with your lifestyle, with your exercise that support your body, that allow you to work with your body, not against it. If this video has opened your eyes up to something that you didn't know, save it and share it with some friends that you may feel like it's also going to benefit, because I feel like this is a topic that more and more people should be speaking about more openly. If you're new here, welcome. Hi, I'm Martina, and I share content about hormones, women health, nutrition that help you understand your body better. If that resonates with you, hit the subscribe button, as I show up here every single week.